If your raise was 3.5% and you feel poorer than last year, I want you to know something. You are. That's not a feeling, that's arithmetic. The official inflation number isn't fake. I used to work with people who built these models. They're not lying to you. They're just answering a different question than the one you're asking. You're asking, what does my life cost now? They're answering, what does the cheapest acceptable version of American life cost, on average, with a 2-year delay on housing? Those are not the same question, and the gap between them is where your money disappears. Today I'm taking apart a real household budget, 2019 versus now, category by category, and I'll show you how to build your own number, the one that actually matters when you're sitting across from HR. I built a boring little model budget. 2 adults, 2 kids. No vacations, no treat yourself, just the stuff you pay so life keeps moving. In 2019, those essentials came out to about $4,050 a month. Rent or mortgage, groceries at home, auto insurance, the employee share of the health premium, gas, utilities, childcare. Run the same categories today, 2024 prices, and it's about $4,979 a month. That's $929 more every month, $11,148 a year, for the exact same normal life. And notice what's doing the damage: housing, food, kids, insurance. These aren't the line items you optimize by buying generic vibes. If you want a national sanity check, the BLS Consumer Expenditure Survey shows annual household spending going from $63,036 in 2019 to $78,535 in 2024. That's up 24.6%. Now stack that against the raise most people get. 3.5 to 4% a year feels fine, until you compound it 5 years and realize it's only around 15 to 18%. Meanwhile, CPI over that stretch is more like 22 to 26%. CPI isn't fake. It's just not answering the question you're asking. What does my life cost now? So that gap you just saw isn't proof somebody's lying to you. It's proof you're using the wrong tool for the job. CPI is a national average price trend, built for stability and comparison. It's not built to answer the question, why is my grocery bill up and my paycheck feels the same? The main one you hear quoted is CPI-U, urban consumers, about 93% of the population. It's what gets used for macro policy, indexing, contracts, headlines. And there isn't one CPI. Social Security's cost of living adjustment uses CPI-W, a different index based on wage earners and clerical workers, roughly 29 to 30% of people. Same country, different number. Then you get to the part nobody talks about, weights. Shelter is about 36.5% of CPI, food and beverages about 12.9%, energy about 6.2%. If your life is heavier in rent, childcare, insurance, your inflation won't match the average. And CPI has a built-in downgrade feature. Since the late 90s, it assumes substitution. If beef jumps, you buy chicken. Statistically, that's equivalent. My dad bought the same beef from the same butcher for 30 years. If he switches to chicken because beef got stupid, the spreadsheet calls it equal. He calls it something else. Housing is the biggest bill CPI smooths out, and it's not subtle. If you own, CPI doesn't track home prices. It doesn't track mortgage interest. It doesn't care what you paid at closing. It uses something called owner's equivalent rent. Basically, if you had to rent your own house from yourself, what would that rent be? That was a design choice since January 1983. The logic is, a house is partly an investment, so they only measure the housing service. Great for economists, useless when you're trying to buy a place. Because the rate shock hits you in real time and CPI doesn't count it, on a $400,000 loan going from 2.65% in January 2021 to 7.79% in October 2023 is about $1,265 more per month, up 78%. CPI treats that like it didn't happen. Renters don't get ignored, they get delayed. Contract rents can take nearly 2 years to catch up to market. New tenant rents lead all tenant by about 9 months. In 2024, CPI rent ran about 5.7% below what you'd pay if you signed a lease today. Meanwhile, median home prices are up roughly 48% since 2019, and average rent went from $1,435 to $1,712. If you moved or you're buying now, you're living in a different inflation world than the number HR is quoting. If you've moved in the last 2 or 3 years or took a new mortgage, what was your jump? Put the percent or the dollar change in the comments. I read them, and your numbers are usually cleaner than the official ones. Health insurance is where the CPI does something that sounds technical, but hits your budget in a very normal way. The CPI doesn't track your premium the way you think it does. For health insurance, it mostly tracks retained earnings, the slice of your premium the insurer keeps for administration, taxes, and profit, roughly 20%, which means about 80% of what you actually pay can get more expensive, and that CPI line barely moves. And the employer-paid part, the chunk your company pays on your behalf, that's basically not in the CPI weight, even though it's still your money. It's part of your total compensation. It's the raise you didn't get because it went to the benefits line item. Numbers. The average total family premium went from $20,576 in 2019 to $25,572 in 2024. That's up 24%. Dana and I got our new benefit sheet last month. I ran it 3 times because I assumed it was a typo. Your share only went from $6,015 to $6,296, about 5%. Looks fine until you remember the rest is still coming out of your pay package. So yeah, CPI can say medical inflation, 3%, while regular people feel 7% plus. For the bottom 60% of households, premiums are over 60% of their medical spending. The exact part this measure soft pedals. Here's the working life math in one sentence. If your essentials went up $929 a month, a 3.5% inflation raise is already a pay cut unless your paycheck jumps by the same dollars. Most companies' budget raises around 3.5 to 3.6%. Mercer tracks it. And HR loves CPI because it sounds objective. But CPI is an average basket. Yours isn't. When an essentials-focused measure like the Alice Essentials Index is running 5.9% and the headline CPI is around 3%, that gap isn't a vibe. It's rent, insurance, and groceries. And nobody has to run a conspiracy for this to work. Government benefits from a lower, smoother CPI because indexation gets cheaper. Social Security's 2025 COLA is 2.5%. Employers benefit because we match inflation caps the conversation. Meanwhile, corporate profits in Q4 2024 were about $4 trillion, 16.2% of national income, versus a 2010s average of 13.9%. Nobody has to lie. It's enough that the yardstick is comfortable for the people who don't pay your credit card bill. You don't need the government's inflation number. You need yours. Tool 1 takes 60 seconds. Personal inflation is just what you spend now minus what you spent 12 months ago divided by what you spent 12 months ago. If your essentials were $4,250 a month and now they're $4,500, that's $250 more. $250 divided by $4,250 is 5.9%. That's your number, not a vibe, a percentage. Tool 2 holds up in a raise conversation. Pull your last 3 months of spending and bucket it. Housing, food at home, transport and auto insurance, childcare, utilities, medical. Each category's share is its weight. Category dollars divided by total dollars. Then apply the price changes you actually saw. Now you can say, my personal inflation rate is X%, and you can show the math. If you want a shortcut, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta and the Heritage Foundation both have personal inflation calculators. Use them as a check, not a crutch. Then you negotiate like an adult. I need X% to hold purchasing power, plus Y% for performance and expanded scope. If base pay is capped, move to dollars, bonus, commuting costs, benefits credits, extra PTO. In 2009, I didn't know this. I sat there with a 3% offer and thought I should be grateful. I was, until I calculated what I actually lost. Build it once, updated every year. Stop negotiating on feelings. If this was useful, hit like. Subscribe if you want more of this. That's not an algorithm trick, just how other people find it.